Welcome back to Arise Entertainment 360. Now, for years, many have watched the beautiful love story of Ossie and Ruby Dee Davis unfold before our very eyes. The two have shared the stage, big and small screen together, and their legacy is held aloft and alive by their children.
And here to talk about everything Ossie and Ruby are their children, Dr. Hasna Muhammad, Nora Davis Day, and Guy Davis. Welcome to Arise 360.
Hello.
Thank you very much.
Hi. So nice to have you here.
Yeah. It's great to be here.
Oh, this is going to be a cacophony of wonderful, melodious voices, I can already tell. Can I just start with your moustache? I love it. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's a statement piece.
It's so great, the handlebar moustache. Okay, I'm going to stop now. But let's start by explaining what exactly everything Ossie and Ruby stands for. Can we call it an audiobook?
Well, the book is called With Ossie and Ruby in This Life Together, and it was also recorded. They received a Grammy for that. And although it came out many years ago, we decided to reintroduce it so that we could reinsert their voices into what's going on now in the world. You know, their voices are needed now.
So if we were to listen to it, what is it actually about? What does it sound like? What are we listening to?
Well, Nora was one of the producers.
Yeah, it's alternating recollections of their lives from the very beginning all the way until near to the end, where they talked about their wishes, not just for us as their children, but for all of our people and all of humanity.
Now, did they do this knowing that it would be turned into a project like this?
Yes, I think so. And I think they did it because they wanted to leave us something of them so that we wouldn't have questions about them. They wanted to share their lives for us and then for the people. Absolutely.
We had to coax them a little bit, but they weren't big on talking about themselves. But we said, hey, we need you to leave us a note.
I love that. But tell me, why was it so important for you to release this?
Well, as I said before, their voices are needed now in these tumultuous times, in these questionable times. We need to remember those who forged ahead in the struggle so that we can use their tactics, listen to the historical perspective so that our outcries now and our activism now has a stand. And they, along with their peers, provided a blueprint for us. And I think it's important to just check back with what folks did before.
You talk about their peers, and these are some luminaries of their time. And some of the civil rights leaders, some amazing entertainers. What was it like for the three of you growing up in a household with such American essential royalty, not just civil rights leaders, but entertainers?
Well, let's talk about that royalty factor. We all went to public school. We were expected to do well, just like all the kids were. We had to do our homework, change into play clothes before we went out. And my mom gave me that speech about you can be a ditch digger, but you got to be the best. So, just like we can't say from outside of our lives what it was like to be around royalty because we had to wash dishes and take out the garbage. I might have missed a couple of garbage taking out.
A few chores were left undone. But your parents were walking, talking historians. I mean, they are legacies in their own right. What was it like growing up with them? You have to share some insight with us because I'm very jealous.
Well, it was ordinary and extraordinary.
I can imagine.
Guy was mentioning some of the ordinary things along with the chores and the responsibilities that most children have. And then the extraordinary times when we were able to go places and be among those folks who you were talking about and participate in the struggle. We were on sets, we went traveling when they did movies, but we were also on the picket lines, and we were also doing those things that you have to do, get in the streets and turn into activists at 10.
And then at home as well.
Yeah,
Malcolm came to the house and was really very much involved with our family. To sit at dinner and look up and there's Paul Robeson and hear that booming voice. John Killens, Maya Angelou, all the people who were engaged in the struggle and in the arts came and sat and talked, and of course after a while we had to go to bed. They wouldn't let us stay up and hear anything, but we were involved in it. But as she said, it was ordinary and extraordinary.
It sounds magical. Wow.
And the Poitier family
Yes.
and all of
Oh,
that. Yes.
stop!
I read about
kidding?
these things,
Yeah.
and it's
You know,
Bella
Huey Newton,
Frontes.
the Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You
That-
name
all
it.
of it.
I
You
woke up
name it.
one day getting ready for school, and there were Black Panthers who were asleep in the living room. They had hidden them overnight.
Amazing.
So this was normal for you, completely
Absolutely.
normal.
Wow.
Absolutely. Because these were the conversations we had at the dinner table. They would pose problems and issues of the day, and they would say to us, what are you going to do about poverty? What are you going to do about hunger? What about the Vietnam War? They would talk to us about both their past, and lest you think it was this very serious sort of, instructional upbringing, we laughed a lot. we had family. I think, people ask us about the people we knew and what was it like being famous, but really the greatest gift they gave us was each other, both as a family and as a people, and as citizens of the world. So that's why we're comfortable speaking out in the ways that we do. We're comfortable talking about the issues that we talk about, being here today.
So in 1963, they founded the Association for Artists and Freedom. There's so much activism that they actually were on the ground, organizing
front lines, yeah.
and moving forward. Were they alive today? What role do you think that they'd be playing?
I think that they would, when they could, they'd be out there in the street also. They'd be talking against the death penalty. They would be talking about mass incarceration, the issues with violence, especially toward Black and brown folks. And if they weren't able to be out in the streets, they'd certainly be at home talking to us as a family. We three have 7 children among us, and they'd be talking to them. And I think that they would be among those mentors to the current activists now.
You sound like you're
I
ready
know,
to jump
he's
in
like,
there with
"There's one
something.
more thing."
Ready to jump in there.
And they would remind us that the face of racism is economic now. Let's not worry as much about the names we get called or don't get called, but look at where the money doesn't go and who doesn't get the funding and whose schools are in bad shape.
So speaking of economic racism,
That's right.
what do you think your parents would say to or about Trump?
Well, I don't think they'd be surprised.
That he got elected or that he exists?
That he got elected. I mean, this country is full of all kinds of possibilities, some that
Very
we like,
true.
some that we don't like.
Very true.
And they tended not to react in grand ways to one thing or the other, but to kind of hold the line, to keep the line of march going no matter what. When they said that we were post-racial, they would have smiled because they've been there before. So they would try to remind us not to be seduced by either the things that seem so wonderful or the things that seem so horrible, but hold the line.
I love
Because you're
that.
still Black in America,
Yep,
no
that's
matter what.
Yep.
No
so
matter
true.
what.
Wow.
The struggle continues.
I'm leaving the
And my-
space for you to jump in there.
Thank you so much. And that, like in the old days, now we have to continue to have a plan, to follow it, and to have courage.
Yes.
Courage is still very necessary for us to live in this world the way it is now.
Very, very true. So staying on the subject of your parents, but focusing on your father, it is his centennial celebration of his life this year. How are we celebrating?
Well, we're doing so in a way that just honors his work and his legacy, as well as Mom's. And one of the things that we're focusing on is education. We had scholarship in his name, United Negro College Fund scholarship in his name, and we're taking the opportunity to update it and change it a little bit, but it will always go to someone who's involved in art and activism. We're looking around at the different establishments. We've got our national museums now and making donations. So just keeping their voices alive, keeping them engaged, and offering whatever we can as a contribution to the struggle that continues.
Wow. Amazing. And not to sound shallow, but are we having a party of sorts?
He wasn't much for
I love that answer. You see, I knew there was something about that handlebar moustache I loved.
No, it's just that as a family, anytime we get together, that is a party. It is a feast. It is Thanksgiving.
That is amazing.
If we could talk about your mom, I mean, she became, arguably the oldest actress nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah.
Old? Did somebody say old?
Okay, well, the most experienced. And this was in 2008.
The most knowledgeable.
Like the second oldest, you know, at 83. So with this being Oscars week, what are your thoughts?
Well, I am excited for all of the nominees, and I know that Mom and Dad would be excited as well. One of the things that we're still doing is we're counting our firsts, and this is our fifth or our eighth.
Yeah.
And I think
In
that
2018.
yes, and they would certainly want to make sure that we didn't have to do that too much longer. I'm sure they'd be pleased at the diversity in the nominee pool, and rooting everybody on. You know, everybody.
Rooting for everybody black.
Well, rooting for,
Yes.
for everybody talented as
And
well.
everybody worthwhile.
That's right.
That's a
Everybody
key phrase,
worthwhile.
worthwhile.
And you know, maybe bemoaning a few who may not have been nominated, but certainly rooting on those who have some challenges when it comes to those types of awards and accolades.
And I think you may recall, I don't remember if it's the Screen Actors Guild or the Academy Awards, where they stood up, accepted a Lifetime Achievement Award, SAG Award, excuse me, Screen Actors Guild, and somehow with a poem with their words made it about children and guns in schools.
Yep.
So, and this is all the way back there. They made it about that.
Absolutely.
Can I just say a quick word about age? We joke about it because it's like for actors it's very difficult to discuss that because you're categorized. But Mom came out of the closet when she was about 90. And she said, if you're going to get old, make it count.
I
Make it
love
count.
that.
She was for old folks going out there, whether they were walking, running, with
I
a cane and a
love
wheelchair,
it.
get out in the streets and scream.
No matter your age, what a fantastic note to end on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
So
much for joining
inspirational.
us.
Thank you so
guys
much.
are phenomenal.
Thank you.
Can I be part of your family?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You are part of our family.
Bravo!
We will be right back with more Rise Entertainment 360. I'm going to go take a break with my family.
See you after the break.